Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-tool power tool combo kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
One's a Brit, one's a redneck, and one's a Kiwi. They want you to join them to discuss the mysteries of the world, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. Lock your door, grab your tinfoil hat, and prepare to have your mind blown.
Hey, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Across the Pond podcast. I'm your host Steve, and I'm here with my American buddy Clark and my UK buddy Dr. Not As Evil.
All right, everybody.
Let's do it, man.
So what we're talking about today, is it time travel?
Yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit about time travel today and time slips, as well. Some cool stories, that you guys have got, and we can go over, even our favorite time travel movies.
I've got a
that's
few of
a
them.
good idea. Yeah, so what you were saying, Doc, that you had a time slip video in, was it Liverpool?
Liverpool in 2006. This is from a lady called Jane. This was in 2006 in Bold Street in Liverpool. Bold Street's one of the main streets, shopping streets in Liverpool. She was going out in the middle of the day, 3 o'clock, going to see her friends. She's walking down the street. She decides to ring them just to say she's on her way, she won't be long. Her phone goes off. No signal on the phone all of a sudden. Now when she looks up, all she sees coming down the street is horse and carts, straw in the middle of the street. Everyone's dressed in proper Victorian kind of gowns and things like that. You know what the UK was like back in them days. All these posh suits and exactly, yeah, that kind of thing. She's all confused. She stood in the middle of the road. She looks over to the side of the street and there's a shopkeeper telling her to move out the way. She puts her head up, looks in front of her, and there's a horse and cart coming straight at her. She's all confused, jumps onto the pavement, doesn't know what's going on, looks down at her phone again, sees there's no signal on her phone, and then when she looks up again, it's all changed back. It's back to a Waterstones next to her. Everything's back being modern. Her phone's working again, and her phone starts to ring. And it's actually her friends ringing her up asking where she is. She was due there 10 minutes ago. So she'd lost about 5 or 10 minutes in that time. She doesn't know where it went.
Wow,
But she thinks she was only there for maybe 10, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. But she'd lost 5 or 10 minutes in that time. And that's in the middle of a crowded street in Liverpool. Supposedly, this street's notorious for it.
Dude,
Yeah,
we need to go there.
Yeah, just stand in the street for hours.
Yeah, until something happens.
It kind of makes sense what you're saying. It's interesting about how she thought she had only been sort of gone for however long, and then she'd come back to reality, and it had been sort of maybe she was late for an appointment, with her friends, whatever, and she was 10 minutes late. Because according to Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, time and space are they're linked, and he basically states through that the faster that you travel, and speed-wise, the slower you actually experience time. And there was a bunch of scientists that did experiment on this, and they actually had 2 clocks that they set to the same time. And so one of the clocks went on board a fast-moving aeroplane, and the other clock stayed on the ground. And so after the plane had actually completed a trip, a short trip, but obviously, flying at a fast velocity.
Yeah.
After it completed its trip, had come down. The two clocks were compared, and the clock that was on the plane was actually slightly behind the clock which was on the ground, proving that theory of relativity, meaning the faster you travel in speed, the slower you actually experience time. So that would make sense if she had hit some sort of time lapse and gone back in time. Maybe she felt, like she was there for 15, 20 minutes or whatever, and then she comes back into our time. It's actually, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like
Yeah.
she's behind the schedule as to where she'd been, but only experienced it for, like you say, maybe a couple of minutes or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like you say. I think I remember that experiment. Was that in the 80s or the 70s?
Yeah, I think it might have been in the 80s,
I
but
think
yeah,
it
that's
was.
pretty
Yeah.
wild because you think no matter how fast you're going, like the time's the time, right? But yeah, that's pretty amazing to think that that clock in the plane going at that faster velocity would actually be slightly behind. Like we're not saying like it was quarter of an hour behind or anything of that significance. We're talking probably milliseconds behind, but still set the exact same, and then that experiment done, the clock on the plane being slightly behind the one on the ground is quite unreal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That velocity and that travel speed had actually affected that how that clock experienced time.
I do remember. Yeah, it was two atomic clocks set at the exact same time, and when they came back down, like say the one on the plane was slightly behind, and like you say, it was milliseconds, but it was slightly behind. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
So
because
imagine them going at a faster rate of speed. You know what I mean? And what they could do with that.
That's what they say, don't they?
exactly.
They say if you can go faster, that's how they say time travel. You can go into the future, but you can't go into the past because you
Yeah,
could
that's what I always
travel.
heard too. You can look around the corner, but you can't look. You can't go back.
Yeah,
That's what I always
exactly.
heard.
Yeah,
It's always been interesting to me. I've always loved time travel movies and stories. And I would go back and change this and change that. Dude, where I'm at in my life right now, there is not one thing, and I've made some serious, serious mistakes in my life. I mean, like, good gracious, but I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I used to hear people say that, and I would say, man, that's just so cliche, dude. Yeah, you would. You change something, like da da da. I mean, I wouldn't though, man. I mean, I'd like to see my mom. My mom passed away 2 years ago on Christmas Eve, unexpectedly, really. And I'd like to, yeah, I would love to be able to time travel and go see her and stuff. Of course, of
yeah,
course. But changing, like bringing her back though, it goes into like that movie, The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher. Every time he would
Oh,
change something,
great
we
movie.
don't need to get. I know Ashton Kutcher's tied in with Diddy, everybody. So yeah, don't come attacking me for talking about Ashton Kutcher. I'm just talking about a movie. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't agree with anything about him or nothing like that. But anyways, anything he would change, man, it would when he would come back, it would be different, but it would also change something else. And then it would just, you change one little thing and everything's different. So that's always been really interesting to me, though, for sure.
that's pretty much what my top three. That's pretty much what they're all about. I'll tell you about them later, obviously, but my top three movies are
Makes
all about
sense.
that kind of thing. So have you
Yeah,
still
well,
got
it's
that
funny.
story of was it Steve?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's funny that you said that traveling through time, you can only go forward and not back, because I've actually got two stories here, and one of them is about only traveling forward, but one of them is actually also about traveling back as well. So
Go
yeah, the
for it.
first story that I've got was actually from way back in 1935. There was a British air marshal called Robert Victor Goddard, and he was just on a routine flight mission back from Scotland back to the south of England, where he was based, and he was flying through an airbase called Drem. And now this airbase was all overgrown, and it had sort of been discontinued, like many years before, and it was all overgrown, vegetation all through it, and it was, disused. There was no vehicles there, there was no aircraft. It was just a rundown old airbase, and he noticed this big sort of dark storm cloud sort of rolling in over his flight path, and he, thought it looked kind of dodgy, but yeah, he sort of carried on through and sort of flew through it. And then when he sort of came out the other side, he noticed that the airbase was different. It looked different. All the vegetation that had grown through it was all gone, and it was just filled with planes. And he remembered distinctly that the planes were yellow in color. And he remembered thinking that that was super strange because, the plane that he was flying and sort of the standard issue for the RAF at that time was brown planes. And he didn't think, we don't not familiar with any yellow planes here in Britain. And he noticed also too that the pilots on the ground were all wearing like blue overalls, which was different again to his standard issue uniform. And he thought it was really strange, but he continued on flying through these dark clouds, and he sort of come back through the other side again, and then he looked back down, and the airbase behind him it was back to where it was, all overgrown, and the planes were all gone, and it was sort of how he first seen it, and he thought it was super strange. So he carried on his flight, and he'd actually landed, and he told a lot of people about what he saw, and they obviously didn't believe him. So the strange thing about the story was, though, that a couple of years later, in 1939, the Dream Air Base, which he's seen, actually had, like a refurbishment and got sort of reinstated. And then the British, they actually changed their planes to yellow planes, and the uniform that the pilots wore to blue overalls. So yeah, he actually had some sort of when he flew through those storm clouds, rather, he actually saw some sort of glimpse into the future, some sort of time portal where he's seen the
That's
airbase
awesome.
as it would be in a few years' time, and obviously as he was looking at it at the time in 1935, it was hugely unfamiliar to him, but yeah, obviously in 1939 it became the standard, that became the norm, the yellow British planes with the blue uniform for the pilots. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. And yeah, he actually, after he'd finished being sort of an aviation pilot, he actually went on to become like a true believer in the paranormal and the unexplained after that experience. And he went on to
Yeah, it
write
changed his life.
yeah, for sure. And he actually went on to write several best-selling books about sort of the paranormal and the unexplained. So yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting story because yeah, obviously he somehow travelled into time or had a wee glimpse. It's might have only been for a couple of seconds or whatever, but yeah, he sort of was adamant in what he saw, and yeah, it sort of came to fruition when that airbase there got renovated and the planes all became yellow and the pilots
There's too
became
many
blue.
stories, man, like this right here. There's thousands of time slip stories of people going through a tunnel, in their
Yeah,
car, and all of a sudden they come out the other side, and it's completely different. No buildings, no nothing. It's so cool to me because there's so many stories. Just like there's so many alien abduction or UFO stories. There's just too many. There's too many time slip stories, in my opinion, for it not to be possible. Y'all know what I mean?
yeah. No, it's true. It's a lot of the similarities as well when you go from one story to another. They could be on different continents, and the similarities between them, like you said there, the tunnel and seeing through it, clouds opening up. I've heard loads of stories like that. Very, very similar.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's super crazy, yeah. Because I mean, the other one I have here, I guess it's semi-modern, and you guys have probably all heard of it. It's pretty famous. It's the man from Kiev, Sergei. What was his name? Sergei Ponomarko. You
Oh, I
heard
love
that
this one.
story?
Yeah, I love this one. Go for
Yeah.
it.
So that was April 2006 in Ukraine. A man, he's seen, just in the streets, he seems disarrayed and he's really confused, and he's in, like you say, really old school clothing, from sort of turn of the century type of thing, and your Peaky Blinders sort of era, and he's sort of walking through the streets holding this really old camera, looking super confused, and he's asking locals, "Oh, what year is it? What year is it?" And they all think this guy's lost the plot. He's a bit strange, so they call the police on him, and yeah, the police came and talked to him, and he's saying the same thing. What year is it? What year? And they think, oh, this guy's sort of out of his mind, so they ended up placing him under arrest. And he claimed to them that he was actually from the year 1958. And of course, they didn't believe him because it was 2006. And obviously, when they arrested him, they confiscated his personal belongings, and he had his old school camera, which was indeed very old. And he had an ID on him. And the weird thing about the ID was that it was issued from the Soviet Union, which Ukraine hadn't actually been a part of since 1991,
Yeah.
15 years prior. So yeah, they said he looked, his appearance-wise, he looked to be about in his mid-30s, but his ID said that he was born in 1932. So yeah, he said that his story basically, that he was out walking with his fiancée, her name was Valentina Kurish, and he saw a strange bell-shaped object in the sky. So he took out his camera to capture it. And before he knew it, he'd seen a bright flash of light and somehow been transported to the exact same spot, but in 2006. And yeah, so obviously he's arrested and he's put in a holding cell or whatever while they sort of get the story straight, because the police do not believe for a second that he's, from the year 1958. So while he's in the holding cell, they go and get his vintage camera developed. Now, the film inside of it was in perfect condition, and it was. They said that it was difficult to develop because the machine that was actually used to develop the old school film like that had actually been discontinued back in 1970. But they found someone to develop the photos anyway, and to their surprise, it was filled with photos of Sergei from the 1950s. It was him and his fiancée, and lo and behold, here was a photo of this bell-shaped UFO that he'd described to police. So yeah, so pretty wild. So yeah, shortly after this discovery, they went to check on him in his holding cell, and he'd completely vanished. They looked up, so now they got a missing person on their file. They don't know what's happened. Obviously security CCTV footage shows him, the policeman taking him to his holding cell and locking the door, and then they go in there and he's just gone. So they're totally perplexed. So determined to find out where he is, they look more into sort of his backstory, and they actually find, through old Soviet records, that there was such a person called Sergei Ponomarko, and who had actually been listed as a missing person back in 1958.
Yeah.
So they thought, this is super strange. So they thought, oh, well, the next part of the story is we need to talk to his fiancée, Valentina Kurish. So the officers tracked her down, and they went round to her house to question her, So when they knocked on the door, they were surprised to see a 70-year-old lady answer the door. And, they asked her what the deal was with Sergei, and she went on to tell them that Sergei did indeed go missing for only a few days back in 1958. But when he had returned to her a few days later, he had claimed that he had seen into the future. He actually went on to become a little bit of a local legend amongst his town, and he would tell the town folk of future tech that he had spied when he was in the future. And then in 1970, he actually disappeared again, only this time he's never been seen again. So massive mystery around Sergei Ponomarko as to what actually happened there, because, his story sounds incredible and incredibly untrue. But it sounds like, by all accounts, the police, by doing their due diligence, everything he said was actually true. So, yeah, it's super, super strange, and obviously a huge question mark on it because, he's never been seen again. Obviously, bank accounts never been touched since, and, presumed missing and or deceased. But, for all we know, could be living in another time dimension, years from now or years past from now. So, yeah. In this story, he was able to pop forward in time and then obviously to the current time, 2006, but then pop back again, So that's, super wild, that story.
No, I love that one. That's the one I really like, that one.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
There's one in America. I don't know if you've heard it, Clark. I can't remember what the town's called. I'm going to have to do this from memory. And being like 46, it's going to be difficult. It's
46. I didn't know you, man.
46.
You don't look or sound that old, dude.
Oh,
that's good.
Stop flirting, mate. Stop flirting. That's for another podcast. Yeah, it was. It's a small town in America. This couple, they were lost, and they drove through a fog. And when they came out, they were in this small town somewhere in like the Midwest of America. Now, they don't remember anything spectacular happening, just this fog, and then they arrived in this town. Now, they didn't think anything strange was going on. It was quite old looking, this town, like from the 50s and 60s America. And all the cars were old kind of style cars. Couldn't tell you what kind of cars they were, but they were all kind of style cars. And they pulled up at a diner, one of these American diners, and they tried to buy some food or a drink or something like that. And they went into the diner, they had money. And when they went to the counter to pay for the food, the person behind the counter looked at the money and told them it wasn't real. And obviously they didn't understand, obviously, because the money was from the present and not the past. So they walked out of the store and just started walking around the town, and everyone was looking at them strangely and looking at the car. And they started to realise, obviously, something wasn't right. So they just thought it was one of these little small towns in America that had been, forgotten about kind of thing. Jumped back in the car,
Man,
left the town, went through this weird kind of fog or mist again, and then they were back in the present. I couldn't tell you
that's
where it
crazy,
was.
man.
The story's online somewhere, I don't know where, but I know it's online somewhere. And they had the name of the town and everything, but it was just really, really strange. Too many similar kind of stories, isn't there, really, going round?
Yeah, there's so many, dude. Like I'm looking right now at my laptop. Just you can just type in time slip cases, and there's just endless. There's so many, and they're all about the same. Somebody's, doing something. And there was one that I heard, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher the story because I can't actually find it. But so there was a guy. He just popped up somewhere on the street. It might have been in England. I can't remember, but he got actually hit by a car, and like it took him out. It deleted him. He no longer was alive. And they checked his pockets and everything, and he had money and an ID and all that stuff from the future, from I think 15 years ahead. But everything that he had, I mean, down to the coins, everything, and it was from I think 13 years into the future. And nobody believed it, of course, but it wound up being that whenever they got to that year, the guy had went missing or something like that on a certain date or something, and there's no other way to explain it other than it had to have been the same guy, and he had to have experienced, a time slip. I think it's weird because there's a lot of movies that do that. They take you can only take a certain wormhole to a certain destination in time, a certain point. Say April 2nd, 1363 at 9 a.m. Is it like and this portal, so to speak, opens up, once every 6 months or something, and it's only a special time, only a certain place you can go and come back. I think those are pretty interesting ideas too.
No, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those in America. We might do it in another podcast. Have you seen all the missing people? And when they overlay it on the map of America, they're all go missing in these certain national parks. Is it Missing 401
Yeah,
it's
the
called or
cave
something?
systems. Yeah,
It's something like
yep.
that.
Where the national parks. Yep, and the cave systems, dude. I mean that's got to tell you something. And people are saying, "Oh, it's just a cave." No, we don't. People don't realize how deep these caves are, dude. I mean, they're not just caves. A lot of them are man-made, obviously, or made by something,
Mm,
and they go deep, deep, deep underground. I'm not gonna get too detailed in it, but pretty much. I mean, y'all know. I mean, people have heard of these things, but they don't realize, I think, how real that's a reality. I mean, there's so many of them dug
no,
out of mountains and all kinds of stuff deep underground.
yeah.
They call them DUMBs, deep underground military bases. So it's definitely possible, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a story that I heard, and it's kind of time travel, but it's more like alternate timelines, really. And it was this chick, and she'd gone on like a school trip. She was probably like 16, 17. She'd gone on the school trip, snowboarding, skiing, and she was skiing with her buddies or whatever down the mountainside, and she got separated from her friends, and yeah, she sort of found herself on like alone on this part of the mountain, and she sort of went through this crevice, and then there was like a big, no, not a big, but like an avalanche, and she sort of got like washed away with it, and she somehow managed to get out, and she was like, oh, I need to get back to my classmates and stuff so that everyone knows that I'm okay. And yeah, she walked down the hill, and like there was just no one on this mountain, and yeah, yeah, she was the only one on the mountain, and she walked back down, and like all the buses and stuff had gone, and like she was the only one there. And she thought, oh man, I must have been like stuck in the snow for a long time, like everyone sort of left without me. And she ended up walking or hitchhiking or something like that, sort of back to the nearest town, and that's where all the buses and stuff were there. It's like they must have stopped at like a cafeteria or something to get a bit of dinner on the way home or something like that. And as she walked in, she said that no one batted an eyelid, like, oh, where you been or anything like that. And, they didn't even know that she had been missing. And she was like, oh, what the hell, like, you left without me. Like, surely they'd do like a roll take or a head take or something and know that I'm not there. And yeah,
Yeah,
it turned
dude.
out that, she had experienced this time lapse where she's absolutely convinced that, another timeline, she had actually died on that mountain in that avalanche, and that you know, like that the buses and stuff all just left without her because she was actually still stuck on that mountain. But yeah, it was just like a massive amount of time had elapsed when in reality, like not much time at all had gone by. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was super strange.
That is so interesting, man. I love researching stuff like this right here. You know, alternate timelines and all that. Then the Mandela effect comes into play. Oh yeah, speaking of that, guys, what do y'all remember? So this is kind of has to do with like time, you know, time travel, time slips. So real quick, Curious George, you know, the Oscar Mayer. So, like, Curious, I guess y'all aren't from America, so y'all didn't have Curious George, the little children's book. I remember him having a tail. So, like, the Monopoly Man, you know, the Monopoly Man
Yeah,
is
yeah,
known to have a monocle, right? Well,
yeah.
apparently, he never had a monocle. The monocle does not exist. Did y'all know that or?
Yeah, I reckon they
Yeah.
just changed the logo and then just to like fuck with your mind, you know. And it's just like, oh,
That's what people say, like it's
I'm
a
sure it used
government
to be like that.
experiment.
Like, nah, never was that. It's the same with the Disney man. Like it, and I understand the reason why they did away with it. But in all Disney films, it used to have Tinkerbell come across and create like a firmament rainbow shape
Yeah,
across the
Yes,
Disney.
yes.
You know, but
yeah,
and
for
people
a fact.
distinctively remember that, and then apparently that was never a thing. You know, like we're not
Yeah,
subliminally trying to show you that the Earth has a firmament. So
yeah,
we'll
it's
just take
all
that
mind
away.
games.
Yeah, we'll just take that away and pretend that it never existed. You know, it's like
Because that
I
one
just
girl on TikTok, she caught Fruit of the Loom, allegedly caught Fruit of the Loom with the little logo. It had a cornucopia basket. For a fact, we all know it did. Everybody knows it had a cornucopia, you know. And apparently, they tried to they took away the little cornucopia basket and just have the fruit there for the logo. Well, this chick, I can't remember her handle, man, or I'd say it, but she actually wrote like contacted Fruit of the Loom and dug through all these files and all kinds of stuff and found the original patent from it, proving and the patent says cornucopia and it named off the fruit and everything. So that proves that they did change it, but they lied about it. And I don't
yeah.
just to play
And why
games, dude.
why
Yeah.
lie? Because yeah, I not all films, but a lot of films that I watched as a kid, Disney ones, I distinctly remember Tinkerbell would fly across and make that arch across the Disney, and then she would dot the I of
Yes, you
Disney
would.
with her
Yeah,
wand, man.
yeah. I
Yes, a
remember that.
thousand percent, 1,000%.
The
Yeah,
problem is though
I
now
distinctly remember that.
there's another one. It's Wayne's World. Do you remember Wayne's World? Obviously, you remember
Oh
Wayne's
yeah.
World, yeah.
Yeah.
When he's in the guitar shop and he starts playing Stairway to Heaven. Now, in the original one, he actually plays the first four notes and then the shop assistant stops and points to the sign. Now, when they released it onto videotape, VHS, they had to take it out because I'm going to sound really stupid here. Who actually wrote Stairway to Heaven? What band was it?
Led Zepp.
Led Zeppelin, that's it.
Zip.
They wanted
Yeah.
$100,000 just to play those four notes in the film, and the producer said no, so they changed it actually in the film, and it stayed like that until they released the Blu-ray version a few years ago, the 4K Blu-ray version. And it just shows that they can change it and not tell you.
Yes. Exactly, dude.
Yeah,
Exactly. 'Cause we specifically remember some things, and for them not to be real, that's just not. It's not possible, man. I mean, it's just not possible.
No, definitely
yeah. I
not.
don't know why. Yeah, like I'm all good for change. Like, oh yeah, no, we actually just adapted that or we changed it. I mean, logos change all the time, but why lie about it? You know what I mean? There's something to that. There's something
Yeah.
sinister about the you know, the deceit and the lie. Is that why lie about it? Just say, oh yeah, we changed that, we modernized it, we're just moving with the times, whatever the excuse. But why lie
Yeah.
about it? Like, nah, it was never that. Like, yes, it was,
But
and
what does it
millions of
do?
people remember it this way.
You've got to
Yeah,
think, what does it do? These are all companies, and everyone's talking about Fruit of the Loom. Everyone's talking about Monopoly. Brings them back into the public eye. Could be a good advertising thing, couldn't it?
That's
yeah,
true,
just wait.
dude.
Yeah, true.
It's right. Any publicity's good, you know, when you're a big company like that, because it'll get them attention. Yeah,
Exactly. Gets
that's a
them
good
back in
point.
the public eye. That's exactly what it could be.
Yeah, well, man, while you're arguing over whether the Monopoly guy had a monocle or not, then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I might go buy a Monopoly set to play with my kids or whatever
Yeah,
because you're talking about Monopoly. Yeah, I guess it just brings it up in your life algorithm, if you will.
that's it. Yeah, that's it
There you
exactly.
go.
It's like social programming, isn't it? You'll go out to the shop just to see, oh, yeah, look. Oh, but they do a Harry Potter Monopoly. Kids will love that. I'll buy that. Could just be a big, massive
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
sales ploy.
That
Oh,
make, dude. That
100%.
I never thought about it that way. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. So
Crazy,
Yeah,
the kind
that's
of things they
crazy.
can do. Now we're in the digital age, they can change anything instantly. Absolutely instantly.
dude, and AI is getting scary too, man. Like the way they've got artificial intelligence. I'm seeing these videos now all over X, and it's pretty wild, man. I mean, you can't tell a difference. It looks like a real. I mean, just what this is going to do, and then AI is going to advance so rapidly. I mean, it already is, I guess, but it's scary. Scary. It's a little nerve wracking for everybody because I mean we've all seen Terminator, Skynet. You know, we've all seen what happens, so it's pretty wild stuff, man.
No, it is.
Yeah, I think with AI in the future, you're going to see, like everyday jobs will disappear. Like you won't have plumbers anymore or builders anymore or anything like that. It'll just be people's robot. You already got those Tesla home help robots. They'll go
Yeah,
next level where that's like Tesla construction robot, Tesla baker robot, and it's like rather than me say if I need some sparky work done at home and I'm going to ring an electrician come around here to do it, I'll still ring that same electrician, but it won't be him that comes to do the work. It'll be his electrical robot. Or if I need some plumbing work, I'll call the plumber and then he'll send his plumber robot and the robot will come and do the job and I'll pay the man for the use of his robot. So then everyone's job will be, like their job will basically just be managing their working robot. That will be everyone's employment as their own. They'll still have their own profession, but it won't be them that do it. That'll be the workforce. It's all just AI robots. I'm
Yeah,
sure of it.
it
yeah,
will be.
dude.
It's going to be crazy.
That just sounds great, man. Yeah, I don't. That sounds great.
It sounds great until it's not great, like we've all
Yeah, it's
seen these
just
films where,
exactly. People
where
will just go
yeah,
along with it. You know, they
AI
don't
just
think.
turns on. Yeah, they always sell it to you, and that's the same with those smart cities and all this stuff. It's always sold to you. EV vehicles, even, it's all just sold to you as it's convenient for you, and it's a less hassle for you. Like why pay petrol when you could have an EV vehicle? It's just like, well, you know what? When shit hits the fan one day and the government pushes the button, like, you know what? I don't actually like Doc driving his car through England there. I'm going to push a button and stop that EV vehicle dead in its street. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you
dude.
can't.
In 2026, they're putting an automatic kill switch on all vehicles in our country.
Mm.
I'm not sure. I haven't. This is what I was hearing. Like I don't know if they've changed it in the past month or the past couple days. I guess. Like, I don't know if it's been changed, but yeah, dude. Every single vehicle, no matter who makes it, whatever, it is required to have a kill switch in there from 2026 on. So yeah, I won't be buying anything after 2025. That ain't happening.
No, I'd rather
Not, I mean, not like
walk.
a
Good
newer
man.
vehicle. They're not going to be able to
That's
hit a button on me. They probably already can, really, though, man. I mean, with especially with the Teslas and stuff, you can definitely control those. Like a remote control car.
Yeah, well, exactly. Those self-driving cars that have them in San Francisco and a few of the big cities now, and like you say, with Alexa listening to every conversation you ever had, whether it's you or other people in your house dating back years, and like your
Yep.
phone's always listening to you when you think, oh, I'd like to buy, a tent for the kids or whatever it is. Next minute, that thing that you're talking about is coming up in advertising material, through paid ads or whatever to entice you in. Your phone's listening to you, your Alexa's listening to you,
Yep.
your car's listening to you. It's sold to you under the guise of convenience, but it's really all about control. So yeah, you got to read between the lines of stuff like that because, and also the same thing too.
Well
I don't know what
said.
it is like in America or different states in America or the UK, but certainly here under the old government, like they were punishing you at the pump if you had a petrol or a diesel vehicle. All the cheapest stuff was EV, and they were trying to push everyone. You were getting government rebates back. If you bought an EV vehicle,
Yep.
they'd give you X amount of $1,000 back as a rebate
Yeah,
for
they do
buying
that
that
here
vehicle.
too.
It was all these incentives to go EV, and they're just the tariffs and the punishment for people that weren't EV was just through the roof. Like we're getting taxed massively for having diesel. We're getting taxed massively road user charges for having petrol vehicles and stuff like that. That you don't see that with EV. It's all designed like, oh, it'll save you so much time and it'll save you,
And they're
dude.
not. See what it is the lithium. All the lithium. We'll get into that. Never mind. We'll get into lithium next week because we're bringing on some experts. On that about all the lithium mines and all that, and how much goes
Yeah.
into that, how much worse it actually is. But yeah,
Oh,
that's all I'm gonna say until next week.
Yeah.
yeah, sure, for sure.
Yeah. They don't tell you
Anyway,
about
we're
the
gonna
knock-on effect.
That's
So what
it.
now?
That's it. We're just the knock-on effect. We wanted to discuss our top three time travel movies.
Definitely. I've got my
Yes.
three, but I want to hear yours first.
Right, fair enough.
Okay.
Clark, you
And
want to
well,
fire off
Can
want
we
first?
go
reasons
first?
why as well. We need reasons why.
Okay, so the first one would be the movie called Frequency. It's got Dennis Quaid and I can't know some other guy. But anyways, he lives in Chicago or somewhere like New York, something like that. And he's probably my age, I guess. He's like a police detective and living a miserable life. He's all sad, depressed. Well, he's got one of these old timey like radios from the I guess the 40s or 50s or something like that. Well, one day when the aurora borealis comes over the city, it does something. The radio like turns on. Well, he hears somebody going hello, hello, and he's like hello, hello. He said because it was his dad's old little radio. Well, pretty much, long story short, he got to talk to his dad, and his dad didn't believe it was him. And what happened? His dad had passed away. His dad was a firefighter. Well, when his son told him who he was, he said, "No, there's no way, because my son's right here with me." And he said, "Well, you died on February the 7th, 1965." He said, "Well, that's tomorrow." "What do you mean that's tomorrow?" And he said, "Look, make sure you go left and don't go right whenever you're coming out like out of the burning building." So he went left, listened to the advice, and he survived, dude. And then, like throughout the movie, he got to save his dad until the very end. He got to see his dad again because his dad had died when he was 8 years old. So I think that resonated with me because like losing my mom and stuff. I mean, my dad passed away when I was 15 as well, and I miss him for sure. But my mom, though, man, I missed the heck out of her, dude. But anyways, so the next one I've got is let's see. I liked the butterfly effect. Obviously, I've already talked about that earlier, with
Mm,
Mr. Kutcher, who I don't really care for, but that was a good one. And then the
great
Denzel
film.
Washington movie, Deja Vu, was a good
Oh,
one.
what a movie!
Uh, yeah, that was a good one.
It's funny you say
Excuse me.
that because that's actually one of mine too. Deja Vu. That was my number three. Just simply because anything Denzel Washington in is absolute gold. He's a great
Yeah,
actor,
dude.
but yeah, that really threw me, that one. I love sort of a thriller. That's sort of probably my favorite genre of films, thrillers, ones that have a real twist ending and really sort of leaves you thinking. Like I just
And he could
absolutely,
only go there for a certain amount of time
yeah.
at a certain time, and so that's what I think. That's a pretty cool way to, to describe what wormholes, I guess, is what they call it. It's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, it is wild, man, and yeah, I really love movies like that have a good sort of twist ending to them and make you think. Like I absolutely hate films where all the bad guys die and the good guys live and it's happily ever after because it's not real
It's not
life.
reality. It's not how
So
it really
yeah,
goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it always makes me smile on movies where like the good guy might die at the end, and it's sort of like maybe the bad guy gets away with it or lives, or what it leaves you sort of questioning, going, oh, what's next? Sort of leaves it open for a sequel or
Exactly.
whatever. But that was a great film. That Deja Vu really got me thinking. My number two would have to be Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Oh
A
man.
lot of
Oh
Great
good,
one.
man.
yeah, yeah, dude. Like that's an OG movie of mine, man. Like I was born in '86, so that came out I think was like 1992 or something, and dude, I've probably seen it like 100 times as a kid, on VHS or whatever. But love Guns N' Roses. They're my favorite band. They're featured heavily throughout it. And yeah, love Arnold. He's obviously the man. But yeah, there's a lot of things that were sort of mentioned in that movie which are true now. Like probably Skynet and the AI we talked about, sort of becoming so advanced that it's more advanced than the humans that made it, type of thing. That's sort of true today. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think who was it? Cameron, yeah, directed that film, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
James Cameron.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think he was on the money there. Like, there's a lot of things that he probably predicted that are sort of, yeah, they're happening now. So I think it's a great film, especially for traveling back in time. Obviously, a lot of references to back then, which is, yeah, it's cool. And yeah, I think my number one, again, I watched it multiple times as a kid, would have to be Back to the Future too. The second one purely because he obviously goes back to like the 50s where his parents were, and then
Yes.
he goes into the future, which is, I think it's like 2010 or something like that, flying cars, stuff like that. I mean, obviously that hasn't happened, but again, a lot of the things predicted in the future for that film that they're around now, like hoverboards and people talking on, FaceTime on the phones and all that sort of stuff. Like they have that in the movie as sort of fiction. Like, oh yeah, one day. I don't know, maybe inventors got some inspiration from maybe watching that, like, oh, I'm going to make that. But I thought it was pretty cool how it touches on those things and then they sort of they come true, So it's
Yeah, that's wild.
definitely one of my favorite. Plus, I love Michael J. Fox, man. I reckon the dude's a legend.
Yeah,
Yeah, he is for
yeah,
sure.
they were
He's a
definitely
real one.
great movies. I was going to put Back to the Future myself, but I thought one of you might put it, so I didn't bother.
Yeah, right.
But
Yes,
It's funny,
what you got, Doc?
Clark, that you had deja vu, same as me.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, it is a
actually,
great film.
Frequency, I actually watched that last week for the first time.
No way.
I don't know why.
Oh yeah, that's
but I just watched
dude.
that
That's
last
wild,
week.
isn't it?
Great movie, great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cop and his dad helps
Wonderful
him find
movie,
the
dude.
serial killer that he's trying to find in the present, doesn't he? I think that's part of the story as well.
Exactly. Yeah, because I didn't get into all that part, but yeah, because the serial killer actually, when he changed something, Steve, it wound up the serial killer he was looking for in present day wound up killing his mother or something like that. So then he had to like get the word to his dad, hey, because this guy's taking out nurses and mom's a nurse and she winds up getting killed. So yeah, it's pretty wild, but they wind up obviously saving everybody. So
Yeah, it's really, really good. Right, my top three. I had Butterfly Effect. I do
great
like.
film.
Obviously, we spoke about who's in it, but just the fact
Yeah.
that when you go back and you change something very, very small, the consequence it can have in the future. I just love that part of
Yes.
movies when he's going back and you're looking at it, going, "What's that actually going to change?" And then it destroys people's lives. It destroys his own life, and he just can't get it perfectly right. Just love that kind of one. The other one, I don't know if you'll have
Yeah.
heard of it. It got slated, absolutely slated for being terrible. Project Almanac.
Nah,
Dude,
I've never heard that.
Wait, I think I've seen that. Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
Have a look
Go
at
ahead,
it
keep
now.
talking, sorry.
Yeah. It's his dad vanishes, disappears. It turns out he was making a time machine in his basement. Now he finds it. He gets into his dad's basement and he finds it and he finishes off. He's this genius. He finishes off this time machine. So he starts using it with his mates to go back and just change little things. Like I think his sister was getting bullied. So he goes back and makes his sister stop the bully. So they start changing little things, but then when they come back, little things have changed in the future for the worse. So he keeps going back.
Dude, that was a good movie. That
Yeah.
was a good. I'm looking at it right now.
That's
yeah,
it,
dude,
yeah.
people say it was cheesy and all that, but I remember I used to. I don't really watch movies anymore, man. But back when I used to, like I watched them, and there's always interesting stuff like
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Exactly, yeah. It just makes you think. It's like I said on the Butterfly Effect one. You're going back and changing something very small, but then when you come into the future, something else has changed. So you have to go back and change that. And then he goes back forward. And I won't spoil the ending for you, but the ending's really, really good. Definitely one worth watching.
You sort of end up chasing the dragon, don't you? Like what do you like you say, little subtle things that you change end up changing significant things in the present time. So
Yeah.
it is almost like the message, like no matter what happened in your life, mistake or otherwise, it's sort of all paths have led you to the person you are now. So I guess you kind of had to make those mistakes or go through those hardships or whatever to become, the present day self. So
Yeah.
it's pretty good subliminal messages in those ones.
Yeah,
What was
definitely.
your first one?
The
What was
third
your other
one,
pick?
the final one, Interstellar.
Oh, great film.
Love that film.
Heck yeah.
I've watched it about 5 or 6 times and I still don't get it at all. Completely blows my mind when you get to the end and you don't know what's going on. I would call that a
The
time travel
bookcase.
movie. Yeah, that's it. Writing in the dust in
bookshelf,
Morse
yeah.
code and all that kind of stuff. That is.
Yeah, that was very wild, dude.
No, I love that movie.
Yeah, awesome.
I actually love the soundtrack as well. That's another reason why I like it.
Yeah, nice. Because
Brilliant.
Clark, what were you saying the other day? There was some sort of time travel reference between Trump. What was that book that sort of mentions
Oh man,
Trump and the
dude.
Prince and whatnot? That was wild.
By Ingersoll Lockwood. So he wrote this book, dude, in the year he wrote a couple books, but there's two of them called The Marvelous Underground Journey of Baron Trump or Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, and then The Last President. Well, in the Baron Trump one, obviously the kid's name was Baron Trump and he was a traveler and all kinds of stuff. And so I think it was either that one. I think he lived in Trump Tower or something like that. he had a mentor named Don, which people say that the word Don in whatever language it was originally written in can just mean friend, but it's kind of wild because then in the last president book, Don, the president had his vice president. His name was Pence, Pence, spelled the same, and that was Mike Pence. That was Trump's. But anyway, so the story goes, Nikola Tesla, whenever he passed away, John G. Trump, which is Donald Trump's uncle, he went there with the government or whatever and got all the stuff, all of Tesla's life's work, and supposedly he had a time travel. Like he had created, a time travel device where it actually works, dude. And if you think about it, man, Trump keeps talking about the 1890s and the golden age and this and that and how it's just a lot of things he talks about is exactly when that book was written at that same time. So it sure makes you wonder how a guy could write a book 125 years ago and literally get the people's names right and even the address. I think it was even in one of the books, not the exact address, but it was like First Avenue in New York or something. There's way too many similarities for that just to be just a coincidence. But I mean,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff just makes
100%.
you wonder, man.
Oh yeah, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, man, and like maybe one or two coincidences, but it sounds like there's like 5 or 6 within that story, and it's just way too much to be
Yeah, I asked Brock,
just
dude.
coincidence like that.
I asked the AI Grok on X. I said, what are the odds that Ingersoll Lockwood could get all the details right that he did in those books? And dude, it was like 1 in 1 trillion, 1 in 1 trillions of a chance that he could have gotten all that stuff right. Like that's not possible. It's just not. It's not possible. That's not a coincidence. There's no
No,
way, man.
exactly. Yeah, that's knowledge, as opposed to a punt.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
I'm trying to think who wrote that. I'm sure it was a German, wasn't it? Was it a German author?
Hold on, I'm looking it up now. I think the guy's name was Ingersoll Lockwood. Let's see.
He might not have been German then. Pretty sure.
Lockwood sounds English.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Ingersoll doesn't sound English though.
Yeah, Ingersoll Lockwood. Okay, let's see. This dude, he was born in 1841. Was an American lawyer, diplomat, and writer. He wrote children's novels.
Yeah.
Which was the Barron Trump's last president, all that. But he passed away in 1918. But it just makes you wonder, man, because there's a lot of there's just too many coincidences for it to be.
And the main character in the book was called Barron Trump, and that's
his name was
Trump.
Barron. Yes, dude.
Donald's son.
Trump's son. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what if he in the book had a mentor named Don? I mean, that could just be Barron Trump, and his mentor is his dad, Don. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It,
exactly, dude.
Do you want to know what I think's going to happen? Right? This is what I think. I thought about this the other day. Donald Trump can't serve another term. I think his son is going to run for president in 4 years' time. That's why his son.
Dude, everybody loves Barron, man.
Yeah, exactly. Real. Yeah, he's being groomed for it. He was at the inauguration, and he's all over the news. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that would be. I've seen a couple comments, people saying that.
Yeah,
for sure, man. I just want my kids to grow up in a good world, man, and not have to worry about stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's changing fast, dude. That Trump administration, they made some waves. They've done more in 5 days than what Biden did in 4 years.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it's insane, man. How much is changing? It really is.
Yeah, we could do with some of that over here.
For better, for worse, we don't know yet, but change is still coming, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man, to be a passenger on the other side of the world and just so.
Dude, we're living through the craziest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're living through the craziest point in time, I think, man. I mean, we already have, because think about it, man. Whenever we were born, they didn't have cell phones and all that stuff. I mean, they may have, government technology or whatever you want to call it, but we didn't have. I remember whenever flip phones came out and the Nokia phones came out in the late 90s. I know they had the bag phones and all that before, but the actual cell phone that everybody had, we got to experience that. And comparing that old phone then to now, there's a massive, massive difference. So just imagine how much more change AI is going to bring. It's scary, dude, to really think about it. Like, it's wild stuff.
How old are you, Clark?
Yeah.
37. I'll be
Oh,
38 in
right. I remember it
July. Yeah.
pre-phones. I remember before there were mobile phones.
Yeah, we didn't. So yeah, I was born in '87, so we didn't have. I never like I'd never seen a cell phone until I guess the mid '90s. I guess
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Because I always think about that, like what my grandma, she's still alive, what she would have seen in her lifetime. Like she was born in 1932, and she turns 93 this year. And just the crazy, like the
Oh
differences in the
man,
world, man, she would have experienced and seen. Like it's just mind blowing to me. If only I can live as long. As far as I know, dude, she's the longest living person in our entire family tree. So yeah,
whoa,
she's like the matriarch of the family, man. So if I can live as long as her, I've got some big shoes to fill. But yeah, I often think about that, the technology advancements and just different shit she would have seen. Because when she was a little girl, like it literally would have been your main form of transport would have been like your horse and your buggy. It was only rich that had vehicles, and now it's the other way around. Everyone has a motor vehicle, and it's only the rich have horses. So yeah, she's seen the full change in the world, but yeah, just the amount of stuff she would have seen, and I mean, obviously, a lot of stuff's like well above her head now. She just wouldn't understand it, and just sort of left a bit behind with the times. But just the advancements and everything, like from microwave ovens and just all sorts, man. Like coming through the 30s and living through war times and that, and then the men that returned to war, they would have been like a whole generation of dudes that were just shell shocked and
Mm,
silent after returning home. I often think that when we go out to little towns
man,
here in Christchurch, like there's little farming communities and stuff around Canterbury where I live, and you see these epitaphs and shrines and stuff of the young men that like obviously went to war and died, and you don't really think about it because you think, oh, men went to war and then they died and that, but it's like these small towns, man. It was probably every male in that small town went to war and died. So it's like that's whole
really,
farming communities growing up, a generation without a dad, without a brother, without a son, like just a big gap, like
yeah,
it's
we have that
man,
here. We have that here. All the small towns and villages, the amount of men on these
yeah.
epitaphs and things like that, it's crazy. It's absolutely
Yeah,
crazy.
like you don't really think about it when you just drive past it, but yeah, when it's a small town like that, and then you look at the amount of names that are on it, and the amount of people that would have actually been around during that time, and the
Yeah,
obviously especially First World War in the 30s, it wouldn't have been that many, and then you just like count up the names, it was probably every single farmer, and their sons that left that area and just never returned. So it's
yeah.
pretty wild, and then too, like obviously World War Two, but it was only 100 and a bit years ago. It's not really that long ago.
yeah, seriously, it really wasn't, and how much has changed, like you're saying, is crazy, man.
Yeah,
Here's a
dude, it's
question for
wild.
you. I've not preempted you on this. So straight away, first thing comes to your head. If you could go back in time, what would you do or what would you change?
I would go back. Oh man, this might get me emotional.
I think yours is going to
I
be the
would
same
go
as mine.
back. Yeah, I would go back to my mom to talk to my mom. I mean, if I could, I would go back to a point. So I lost three out of four of my grandparents in the past like 3 years. Really,
Ooh,
I would go back to a point to where they're all still here, which is 3 4 years ago, or even maybe 10 years ago, because I wasted all my 20s on just it was a complete waste, man. And if I could go back at that point and just go see them all and say, hey, look, check it out. It's me. Everything's gonna be good. Don't worry. Look at me now. I've got this going on. I just want to tell y'all I love y'all. I'm sorry for putting y'all through a bunch of BS. And yeah, that's I would see all of them. I mean, and just a 5 minute conversation, man, is all I want, dude. And
yeah,
I would love to do that. I would absolutely jump all over if I ever had the chance, ever, I will for sure do that. 1,000%. I won't change anything. I don't know. Talking to all of them, if talking to all of them would change something, but that would be my ideal scenario to sit on the porch with my granddaddy, in an old country town. He was a veterinarian, so he built his animal clinic at the bottom of the hill. So his house sits up on the hill and it overlooks the animal clinic. We'd always sit on the front porch and just have heart to heart talks. It
yeah,
was just mine and his thing. Well, I would love to do that and have him, my grandmother, my mom, and my other grandmother have all of them right there on that front porch, and just to talk to them for 5 minutes and tell them like, all right, don't say anything about this or it'll change everything and yada yada yada. And I know they would. I know they wouldn't say a word. They okay, and they would continue on. So Yeah, that would be mine, man. But
No, yeah,
what you got?
that's perfect. Go on, Steve. What's yours?
Oh, mine's not as deep as meaningful as Clark's. I've never really lost anyone of huge significance to me, and those that have died, I haven't really given a shit about. So, mine would be probably more personal gain stuff. I'd go the Biff Tannen route, and I'm taking the sports almanac back in
Bitcoin.
time. Yeah, dude, that's it. I'm
Yes.
investing big, dude. When you could get $20 and it gave you 20 Bitcoin, dude, I'm dumping everything
It
I
was
have at that
yeah,
point,
it was
which is probably
that,
fuck all
dude.
back in 28, when 2008, dude. But whatever I did have, I would put everything into that, and I'll just sit on it, dude. Because yeah, I mean, I think if you put $20 into Bitcoin back in 2008, I'm pretty sure on the maths now that's worth about $3.2 million now.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
just
100%.
and
I'd do
before
that.
that, it was worth less than a dollar. It was like 18 cents or 50 cents, stuff like that. I
Yeah,
mean,
Yeah, it wasn't worth
man,
yeah,
anything,
dude.
was it,
So
back then?
I would
I
do
think
that,
about that
and
too.
yeah, knowing if I was going back in time, knowing to like the future that I was trying, like that I'm in now, the present that I was trying to change. Obviously, in the future, if I was to go back in time, I would do something not nefarious, but there's something like that. Wouldn't having the knowledge, I would invest heavily in something like that, and then I would obviously change the outcome of the present. I wouldn't be sitting here now in my 3 bedroom house. I'd be sitting somewhere else in my bloody 30 bedroom mansion.
Like 10 stories underground. Yeah, I'm gonna have something one day, man. It's gonna have a massive bunker underground. I mean, yeah, for
Yeah, you're
sure.
probably in New Zealand, dude. You're probably going to need it, the way the world's going. So everyone will want to come over here where no one gives a shit, so they can hide underground in their bunkers.
I was going to say, once
Exactly.
we've all been destroyed, New Zealand will be the only place to go, won't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we're gonna
It'll
go
be
there.
the
I'm gonna go there. Yeah,
it'll be
me
the
and my
new
family
India.
moving there.
Yeah, we'll get the first plane out there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Mine is pretty much the same as Clark's. I lost my mum nearly 4 years ago now, and that would be I would go back just to have, like you say, that even if it was just 30 seconds or a minute, just to have that
Yeah,
connection.
dude.
I
Just
think it's all about the connection, isn't it? When you lose someone that close to you.
yes, they're just not there anymore, dude. And it
Yeah,
sucks, man.
yeah, that's it. You just go back just to have that last 30 seconds with them, just to have that connection with them. That'd definitely be mine.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, I've heard a lot of people that have lost close ones say that, dude, if I could just have one more conversation with that loved one, and I think it's a little bit sad as a society that we just wait until someone's dead before we, stand up at their funeral and say really heartfelt, nice things about them.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always thought to any funeral that I've gone to, like, man, if this deceased person could have just heard these words when they were alive, like what difference it could have made to their life.
exactly, dude.
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
Exactly. That's
So,
my. I live my life by that, bro. Like I have for years now. Like, don't go to bed angry. Don't leave somebody on bad terms. Don't because it could be the last time you talk to them, dude. I mean, it could. Yeah, that's
yeah, you just
scary,
never
scary
never
stuff,
know.
man.
Yeah, life's fragile, man. You never know what's around the corner. So yeah, I always think if these people could hear these nice things of how their friends and loved ones truly feel about these people while they're alive, it might change their perspective, on their outlook on life.
I
Because
agree.
some people are facing their
Yeah,
own demons and they're going through some hard times or whatever. And if they could just feel love from other people or hear how appreciated they are for even little things, like it may not be that they're doing anything significant, but just, oh, I love having your company. I love just when you're around or whatever. Just hearing those nice things could really like lift someone up out of a rut, And it's like it shouldn't take till they're not here anymore to be like, oh, you know what, Clark was a really nice guy and he did this and this for people or whatever. Like they should hear that while they're alive and
yeah.
feel
Tell
loved,
them
feel,
now. Yeah.
yeah, feel appreciated, So anyone listening to this podcast, if you're feeling that way or you've held something in or you haven't expressed how you truly feel to someone of significance to you, then do it. There's no time like the present, and
yeah.
make that person feel loved and feel special. Because you just never know what tomorrow brings. So,
No,
That's
yeah,
right. Do
that's
it right now.
my
Grab
advice.
your phone right now. Exit out of this, and then boom, send the
yeah,
text message or call them right
yeah.
now. Don't
Just
wait.
pick it up, send it. Do not wait because you do not know, like I say, what's around the corner. You definitely do not.
Yeah.
Speaking of the future, what's next week's show going to be about?
Oh, we got those girls on, and we're going to be talking about the lithium and all that sort of stuff, Clark. Yeah.
Yeah. So next week we're going to have Miss K Pogue and Miss A Truth for You. That's their handles on TikTok. I don't know about the real name thing. I'll let them introduce themselves as that. But Yeah, so we're going to talk about the dome, which is the firmament. We're going to do a little discussion on some more on Nikola Tesla. We got one of them. She's expert with with 369 and all that good stuff. And then the stuff with the lithium mines and the wildfires, man. The A Truth for You, she's like the absolute best at it, and she deserves way more followers than she's got, on all platforms. But all we can do is just keep on going. You keep for exposing too much truth, you get your accounts banned, you get throttled down, and that's what happens. That's what happens with accounts like them and us. We've got to all be careful, unfortunately, and we can't say too much. And it's really aggravating being a creator, and you, like we were saying earlier, wanting to get the word out, but you can't. But yeah, next week's going to be pretty deep with all the showing where all the lithium deposits are, and what potentially could happen and stuff like that. So I think it'll be really, really good.
Yeah, definitely should be. Definitely should be. Be nice to have some guests on. Spread the word around into it
Heck
as well.
yeah.
And like you said, it's hard. It's hard when you're on these platforms and nothing gets out. That's pretty much why we decided to do this, wasn't it, Clark? We just decided years ago we were getting hit all the time, and we just said, "What's this?
Yeah,
Is this 2 years in the making? This podcast?"
it is, man. You mentioned it to me, dude. You mentioned it to me. Yeah, almost 2 years ago. It was like right when I started, man. So 2 years will be this summer. So yeah, it's about a year and a half. You
Yeah,
mentioned we should do a podcast, and I was like, man, I can't do I don't know if I can do a podcast. I don't know if I'll be good enough or this or that or people will like me. And then now here we are. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care what people say because there's so many trolls and haters, man. And it
Yeah, you're
just
always going to get
Facebook is
that.
one of the worst. I mean, these people, it's incredible the way people talk. Not just to me. I mean, I can deal with it. But when I see people attacking others in the comments just for asking a simple question like,
yeah.
hey, what does this right here mean? They're like, shut up, you're so stupid, go kill yourself. I
It's
mean,
crazy.
why
Yeah.
say that to people, man? Why talk to people that way, dude? It's incredible, man. It really
Cool.
is. But
Cool poppy syndrome, dude, is what it all is. It's don't, like I say, people are facing their own demons, going through their own shit, so they just want to bring you down to their level so that
and
they can,
lash out.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they can see your success and they can see your growth and they want a piece of it, so that they're never going to have it. So the only way to get or to feel like somehow you're equal is to chop you down and bring you down to their level, so then they can be like, oh well, we're both not going to grow together, kind of thing. But yeah, like you
Yeah.
said.
Ha ha.
Yeah, like you said, dude, who gives a shit about any hater, bro? You're always gonna have that. So yeah, you got to be
Yeah.
pretty
They never
in
never
this
end.
game,
It
dude. Which
is. It's
we don't
more a
care.
case of like in the old days, you'd fear what you didn't understand, and this is just like it's the multimedia, social media kind of time, isn't it? It's these people who are just
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Right, you're just crazy. You're just crazy. But then stuff starts to come true, and they go, "Oh no, you were right about that," and we're like, "Oh yeah, we were
Yeah.
right
I
about
know.
that."
Yeah, and there's never an apology. It's just like, oh, you were right about that. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
not
but you don't get an
not
apology. It's like
crazy.
all those times you talk crap and said
Yeah,
told all these people this, but now it's true. So this is awkward.
so it's like the Homer Simpson meme where they go back into the bush, isn't it? Like, oh,
Yeah, where he leans back real slow and rolls his eyes. Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly.
that's crazy. That's
yeah, but that's
crazy.
it. We don't care. We're still going to talk shit whether people listen or not. But I mean, we hope they listen. It's for the listeners, and we hope they enjoy the content that we're putting out and like what we have to say. But for anyone that
Yeah,
doesn't,
man. Make sure y'all hop on
yeah.
our pages. Doc made pages for Across the Pond on all platforms. So make sure you get on there and comment. Ideas on stuff that you want to see. Send us messages and just and we want to really interact with everybody a lot. As is what y'all were saying. So I think that's a wonderful idea. Interact
Yeah,
as much as possible and talk to people and get their stories and bring on. And you don't have to be some big creator either to get brought on. You know. You can just have a crazy cool story or something like that and you want to share it. So don't think it's limited to only massive create. We've got some pretty big ones coming on these next couple of weeks, but it can be I mean, y'all agree with that, right? I mean, it can be anybody.
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we're a product for our environment, and we want listeners to be engaging and sending their stories and stuff. Like you guys are just as much a part of the show as what we all are. So, we want to hear from you guys and hear your stories, and you can be featured on our podcast as well. It's no problem.
yeah, exactly.
Heck
That's
yeah.
why we opened all the different social medias, the Facebook, It's just for everybody. We don't care who you are. We're not bothered who you are. Come and talk to us. I'm pretty much on there 24 hours a day. Clark knows that, and Steve knows that. I've messaged them at 1 o'clock in the morning, my time, with just a crazy idea or something like that. It's just anyone can do it.
Heck yeah.
And eventually, we'll probably get this Discord open as well, and there'll be another way. Just all these different ways you can come and talk to us. So don't be scared. Don't think we're going to call you stupid. Just get on there, definitely.
Yeah, never. Yeah.
Nah, we're here to listen and we're here to learn. You know, a lot of these things that we talk about, we didn't always know this stuff. So, you know, we've discovered it or we're shown it by other people or whatever. So yeah, you're always growing and we're always learning. So yeah, we're happy to hear any new stories or any new information, and we'll share it all. So more the merrier.
Perfect.
Dang right, dude.
Right, should we close it, boys?
Yeah,
Sounds
no
good,
worries.
man.
I mean, yeah, it's 10 to 2 here, so I'm going to get some shut eye. But no, it's been a great chat, boys. And as usual, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, man.
Right, guys, so we shall see you all next week. And like we say, go and follow everybody, get on the Facebook page, start talking to us. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
our handles, or mine anyway, is Steve here from New Zealand. You'll be finding me at The Truth Unveiled NZ. That's my Instagram handle.
Yep. But I think
Clark, you wanna
we've
give
got
a
all those
shout out
linked
for you,
up.
buddy?
Go to his Instagram. He just got his TikTok banned, so he's
God
not
damn
gonna
it.
go to his Instagram, but definitely go to his TikTok as well because it's connected. But yeah, mine's just Mr. Clark Payne or Clark Payne. Just type it in, you'll find it.
Yeah, definitely. Right, guys, so we shall see you all next
Cool.
week. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, whatever you're listening to us on. And 2 massive guests next week, so do not miss that show. So
Looking forward to it.
peace out, everybody.
Yep.
Awesome, guys.
Later.
Hey, thanks so much. See you later.
No worries. See you all later.
See you, guys.
You stayed up late again, fell asleep on the couch. TV was blaring loud, drew hands from your mouth. It's hard to watch you in this way, always battling and constantly struggling. But remember, I'll never let you down. Be with you till the day I die, and I'll always be around. We'll stick it out to the end. The dishes are piling up and your standards are dropping. The same old jumper, the stenches blend into one. You've gone nose blind and your laugh's got weaker. Nothing's ever how it used to be. But remember, I'll never let you down. Be with you till the day I die, and I'll always be around. We'll stick it out to the end. and I'll never let you down, and I'll never let you down, and I'll never let you down.